This technique is called the back choke, and it's probably one of the most common ways that fights or wrestling matches are brought to a conclusion at the start of your training. You do need to be able to get the back, but the great thing about getting the back is evidenced by what you saw in the mount to back drill, is that the average person that doesn't understand BJJ, when you achieve good position like the mount on them, they turn over and they give you their back. And from the back choke, from the back position, well, back control, with my seatbelt grip, the first and most obvious attack is our back choke. And the way we'll do it, notice it starts with the seatbelt grip. If my master hand, my right hand's over, then my left hand's protecting it. And that's important, as we've already discussed, because if David's initial reaction is to rip off whatever hand he can get hold of, that's invariably going to be the top one. I want that to be my left hand, so that my right hand's free to go around his neck. If my right hand's on top of the other one, he's just reaching up, he's going to be pulling that hand. So it starts by having a correct seatbelt grip. He pulls off the other hand, my other hand comes snaking around his neck, ideally getting the V of my arm in the middle of his neck. Okay? It then locks up here on my shoulder. Okay? As David mentioned earlier on, if it was down here, the gap is too big. So the whole idea is to take as much of that space out of that gap as I can. So we do that when this hand comes around, when it snakes around the neck. When this hand comes over, bring this elbow in. Bring it in tight and get a grip. Don't leave it out wide and get a grip. Elbow in the middle. So elbow to the middle, almost like a little miniature strike. Elbow to the middle, it's now tight. That hand goes behind. I then lock that one off with my head. So now he's got no way to pull any of my hands off. And then it's just chest out, shoulders back, and squeeze my elbows together for the tap. All right, so from the seatbelt grip, 1, I snake it around. 2, elbow in the middle and get a grip on my shoulder. 3, other hand behind, lock with my chin, chest and shoulders for the tap. It all begins by having a great seatbelt grip and obviously a good back control.
A couple little pointers to add to what John said, as we switch for a moment here, is I find that this technique works best for me when I'm going to go ahead and make my choke, when I reach my shoulder over to try to get as far forward as possible before coming back. This is something a friend of mine, Jake Shields, great fighter, taught me. So rather than leaving it here and trying to just go from here, as much as possible, get my shoulder over the top so that when I come, I'm nice and far back. So even if I haven't done the lock yet, when John goes to reach back for my hand, it's at a hard angle for him to get. The other thing that works really well for me, if possible, is to try and stay relaxed when you're entering for the choke. That way, when you lock it on, you can puff your muscles out like you're inflating a tire and take out all of the slack. If you're very tense when you're entering for a choke, you tend to knock the guy's head around, and you tend to not be like a piece of rubber being stretched around and then being inflated. So those are 2 of my little pointers that I've learned.